Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and with all this stuff going on, I feel like doing a reloading chat talking about how the left has actually directly defended pedophilia over the years. So yeah, let me resize some 9mm brass and let's talk about that. Because Milo has been accused of it. They're accusing him of defending pedophilia when what he actually discussed doesn't even qualify as pedophilia. Pedophilia is a sexual attraction or committing sexual acts with prepubescent children, not teenagers. Totally different things. Not saying it's right to have sex with teenagers either, because I don't think that it is. I honestly believe that it isn't. But we're talking about two separate things. Now, they're going to accuse him of defending pedophilia because, that's the new thing now. I guess everyone was a Nazi. Now they're just going to call them pedophiles because that's not working. But, the left has a history of defending pedophilia. And I know some people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like with the prisons and everything else? Defending their rights, maybe trying to get them reduced sentences, making sure they're not getting the death penalty. No, I'm not talking about any of that because that's still, putting them in jail. That's still putting them in jail. It's not totally defending them. How about their stance on Islamophobia? How about the left always trying to uplift Islam and all of that? Islam is a religion based upon the teachings of a self-admitted and documented pedophile. That isn't even subject to debate. Now, people could say, who will get upset, who might be Muslims, oh, you use that word. No, but you can't deny that. You can't deny that. It's in your own writings. It's in there. He admitted to it. And what I mean is, Aisha was prepubescent at the time of their marriage and even at the time that they had sex. Now, a lot of Islamic scholars will argue, well, until she was a certain age, which would still be the age of pedophilia, he didn't actually have penetration, so it doesn't count, and he just thied her. Now, you guys can look up yourselves what that is. So, it's a little different. Then she consented, so she was old enough to consent, and she consented. But yeah, but it's still pedophilia. You can't argue that point. She was prepubescent, all right? Prepubescent, and he had sexual acts with her. You can't argue that point that it's not pedophilia. It is by the definition of the word. Now, the argument Muslims could make is that, but it's okay because the Prophet Muhammad did it. That's the argument they could make. And by saying that, they're supporting pedophilia. So why isn't the left screaming that every Muslim in the world is supporting pedophilia? They're screaming that Milo is supporting it. Why aren't they accusing of every single Muslim religious leader of supporting pedophilia? They all do. Right there with this saying that it's okay because Muhammad did it. That is supporting it. Furthermore, the left gets upset and defends Islam repeatedly. By defending Islam, they are therefore condoning pedophilia. They're condoning the teachings of a known, self-admitted, unrepentant pedophile as a viable religion. That's defending pedophilia. Anyone care to argue against that? I dare you. That's supporting it. And I promise you no one has a valid argument against that because it's right there in the writings. You can read it yourself unless you want to argue that that's a lie and he lied about what he did, that he really didn't do it. But it's still self-confessed. He's still condoning it. Even if he lied, he's still condoning the act as if he did do it. So either way, you're pretty well boxed in. It condones pedophilia. So the left saying that we need to accept these teachings and allow this book to be in circulation and everything else, they're condoning pedophilia. They're condoning it. Undeniably so. Now, here's the big deal with the pedophilia thing. This is going to become a political issue, and here's how I know it's going to become a political issue. People made a prediction years ago with something that became an issue, and everyone said, that is a logical fallacy. That is a logical fallacy. When people started screaming for homosexual rights, and everyone said, I don't even have a problem with homosexuals. I don't have a problem with them having rights. My problem is that this is going to be used as a stepping stone for all sorts of perversions and mental illness to be normalized. and to give rights to people who have various mental illnesses and sick perversions, that it is going to be a stepping stone to make those normalized and to be justified in the public eye and be legalized. That's the problem. That's my problem with homosexual rights. A lot of people used to say that. And the counter argument was, the stepping stone fallacy doesn't work that way. But it did happen. It did happen. Because transgenderism was forced upon us to be accepted as normalized. Transgender rights, a mental illness and self-loathing based upon both a sexual identity disorder and a body image disorder, in which generally contains self-loathing for someone's normal, natural, properly functioning body to have hatred and disdain and disgust by a part of their own body. All right, you're dealing with a very, very clear-cut mental illness. Every expert in the world agreed it was a mental illness until it was turned into a political platform. And then those people who still continue to disagree with it in psychology were silenced and told to shut up, that they were bigots. That this is now a protected group. A protected group to be celebrated, to be given all sorts of rights, and everyone else's behavior had to be modified to accommodate their rights. All right, transgenderism is a mental illness. And every single biologist who's talked about this in any detail, actually, well, not every single, but a lot of them have come forward and said there's no biological basis for transgenderism. You are the gender that you are. There is no biological pathway through which a man can be born as a woman or a woman born as a man. This is all nonsense. It's not real. It's not based upon science. All right, that's what all the biologists who've looked into it have said. That's what medical doctors have said. Yet it's been pushed as a new special group that's been discriminated against and needs special protection and special laws. And they piggybacked off of gay rights and said, all the stuff that you say about us, you said about gay rights. Everyone said it was a mental illness, and then it was determined it was not. We need the same treatment. Transgenderism got lumped into the same category. Gay rights turned into a stepping stone for something totally insane to be pushed upon us, to be normalized, and now to be glorified and uplifted. It's a mental illness that the people from it suffer. Even when they've been glorified and uplifted, they're still suffering. And they're not being cured, or they're not being helped, and they are still suffering. Committing suicide at an enormous rate. In spite of the social glorifying of it. So the stepping stone did happen. It was true. Now, what's happening? Groups in Europe, some groups in America. There have actually been laws that have been tried to be passed in certain countries in Europe that have been voted down. Groups are pushing for the same thing here. Guess what? Pedophiles are now saying, well, we just want the same rights transgenders got. You said the same thing about transgenders. This was a mental illness, and it was removed from all the handbooks, the guidebooks on it. It is no longer considered to be a mental illness. Well, pedophilia shouldn't be either. You gave these rights to gays, you gave these rights to transgenders. We want special treatment also. We want to be normalized. That's what they're saying. That is what the pedophiles are now saying. They're saying we're a hated, discriminated against minority. So the left is going to have to deal with that next, aren't they? Because that's what they did when they allowed that stepping stone to happen and gay rights to jump over into transgender rights, which should never, ever have become a political issue. The transgender thing should never have been a political issue. It's insane that it became a political issue. And every reasonable person has to know that. Well, we're all going to be screaming next when the pedophiles and their social justice warriors come up and say they're discriminated against minority. They just have a different preference biologically. They're born that way. And then all of us are going to be screaming at the top of our lungs that this is insanity. This is a mental illness. This is crazy. And they're going to say, well, you said the same thing about transgenders and you were proven wrong. So the left and the social justice warriors will go ahead and probably take that cause up next. It'll happen in the next 10 years. I promise you it will. Watch and see. These same crazy leftists who push transgenderism on us are going to push pedophilia on us next. Watch it happen. This was predicted 20 years ago. And the transgender thing hit first. And now that's being used to piggyback over into pedophiles. And it's small right now, but that's got a growing following. And they're going to scream loud enough as a discriminator against minority. The group that we should be executing, not be putting in prison, we should be executing, they're going to get special rights. It's going to become an actual political issue, I promise you. And you know what? There will also be even a religious mandate for it. Because there's a whole religion that follows the teachings of a pedophile that is growing and has over 1 billion people around the world now, and now makes up 1% of the American population, that condones pedophilia. So that'll probably fall all under the same category. The pedophiles will use that to their advantage. They're going to use transgenderism to their advantage. And, you know, there's a major religion that condones what we do. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad practiced it. And the transgenders, they had their mental illness category removed, and they're now given special rights. Watch and see. And the social justice warriors are going to jump on this bandwagon. And they're going to try to get pedophilia legalized, get it normalized, and try to force society and the media to accept it. And anyone who doesn't accept it as normal is going to be a racist, bigot, pedophiliophobe, and Islamophobe. Watch and see. It's going to happen, and that's going to be branded as a bad thing for us to stand against abusing children. And at that point, we should probably just go ahead and have a revolution and just dig a bunch of ditches. But, you know, we'll wait and see. We'll watch and see. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.